Hello, everyone. We are talking about Civilization 6. I'm here with Mike Mahardy. Mike, you and I both got to play roughly 150 turns of this game. I am new to this whole franchise, and you are a longtime fan. Is that correct?
Yeah, Civilization 5 is one of my favorite games, especially once the expansions Gods and Kings and Brave New World came out, and coincidentally, the team making Civilization 6 was the team that made those expansions, so I have really high hopes for 6, especially after playing 150 turns. I came away with pretty positive feelings.
Mike, obviously there are a lot of changes with this game, but we have broken out 5 major changes, and we're going to talk about them. First off, we have Unstacked Cities, Mike, or Expansive Empires. Why don't you go ahead and kind of describe what this is?
Yeah, this is the big one. Similar to how Civ 5 is known for unstacking military units on the same tile, expanding them outwards, Civ 6 expands cities. So no longer do you have one city tile with your palace, your university, your harbor, anything you want to build. Now you have these districts that you build. So say you build a campus. That's going to be its own tile apart from the palace tile. So you will build a campus, and then that will allow you to build the scientific structures, like the universities, which will obviously boost your science and help you research new technologies, thus progressing you through the game. If you're a military-minded player, which I'm not normally, but it's still a big part of the game, when you're attacking cities, you can look and say, oh, that's their scientific district. That's also a civilization that has a ton of advanced technologies that we don't have. We should take out that district first, and then lay siege to the rest of it afterwards. But also, if it's your city, you can have an encampment, which essentially you can build military units from there as well, and not just your palace tile. So you can kind of like start flanking people. But this also makes you have to read the map more, right? Because certain places like the aqueduct, you want to build it next to a river, right? There are certain districts that get adjacency bonuses. So if your campus is next to an aqueduct, or for instance, I'm not sure if that's the specific example I'm looking for, that'll boost the science output of that district. So you really want to make sure you place your cities in the right spot. This was always a concern, but now you're not just worrying about farms or markets or mines. You're worrying about these actual huge city districts that you're going to have to worry about down the road.
So then we have active research, which is essentially like a side task you can do to efficiently tackle different areas of research, right?
Yeah, so this just pretty much, it's exactly what it sounds. It's you're proactively, pursuing certain technologies in that, say you might be researching pottery, but then you build a quarry, and that's going to give you a significant boost to your masonry research. And then that's going to make you switch to masonry so you can build it faster. This decreases the time it takes to research each technology. So whereas before in previous Civ games, you were just increasing each city's science output to decrease the time it would take to research each new technology, this actively lets you cut it in half sometimes. Or even one time I just completed it completely because I finished I built 3 farms, and then it just completed a research for me, and then I had an extra one right there. And it also just ensures that there's a lot more to think about each turn, right? Because there's so many more options readily available.
Moving on to dynamic diplomacy. What is this about, Mike?
Yeah, so this is something previous Civilization games have always tried, like to make these leaders characters that you can kind of predict or be surprised when they do something outside the behavior that you thought they'd established. So each leader in the game has one, so you can kind of get into a game and be like, oh, okay, I've got Qin Shi Huang. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but he's the Chinese leader. He historically is really inclined toward building wonders and kind of like increasing the culture of his civilization. So in my game, I was building a lot of wonders, and he was kind of getting annoyed at it because I was encroaching on, his playstyle. And he eventually declared war on me. He denounced me, declared war on me because I built the Hanging Gardens, I built the pyramids, I built Stonehenge, and he was like, all right, that's too much. But also, each leader has a hidden agenda, because one thing that they're trying to do with Civ 6 is make sure that each playthrough is different. So that's where the hidden agendas come in. If you see Roosevelt is building a ton of settlers, or Catherine de' Medici is building a ton of settlers, you're going to know they're really trying to expand their empire, so you'll be like, okay, I really need to build my 3rd or 4th city if I want to take over crucial spots on the map that they could encroach upon.
Moving on to combined arms.
This one's one of the smaller improvements that we picked, but it is kind of crucial because, like Civ 5 unstacked the units. The units are still, for the most part, unstacked now when you're attacking a city. You'll have your warriors up front, and then your archers behind, then your catapults. But now you can combine certain units, so you'll have, if you get a great general, a great person who buffs nearby military units, you can just link him to a warrior squad, so they'll travel together. You can unlink him at any time. There's a little chain logo. It's pretty straightforward on the menu. But then it gets a little more strategic, so you'll have like anti-tank support units with infantry, so the tanks just don't steamroll the infantry like they normally would. The anti-tank will give them a fighting chance if they're on the defensive. So it's really just kind of taking back a little bit of the stacking units that people did miss with 5. I personally think it was good to unstack the units, but it's still that strategic approach to taking cities. You're lining up your troops in a certain way, but now they just have more options available.
So then the last one we have here is basically a multiplayer scenario feature that we actually didn't get to see. We all kind of played individually in single player.
Yeah, so if you played a Civ game before, you know there's a certain option on the main menu to play like scenarios, situations, these bite-sized kind of things where you'll either start with every advanced technology and just go at it with other civilizations, or just rush to an economic victory when you have this amount of gold. This is kind of similar in that no longer do you only have regular playthroughs in multiplayer. You don't have to sit down with a few other people for 8 hours or whatever. If one of you has to leave, it's all screwed up. You have to save and then reload later. Now you can do these like 20 to 30 minute bite-sized things that's just a smaller multiplayer session, so you're not locked into this long commitment anymore, unless you prefer it that way. Now there's just another option for people that don't have that time.
Yeah, like for me, like I had a pretty good time with the game. I would say at some point around turn 70, I was getting a little bored, but that seems like a really cool way to kind of expedite the process and see, you were mentioning obviously with most of the games, you transfer out of the Stone Age and you get into all these different eras of like human history. I kind of wanted to get to those sooner, but again, some people like the long form, I'm sure of it. But yeah, what did you think overall?
I came away with really positive feelings. It's a bunch of these improvements that seem minor at first, but actually have these ripple effects, especially unstacking cities. That just changes a ton. I'm actually pretty optimistic about what Firaxis is trying to do. They're trying to change it, so each playthrough is different. That sounds cliche, and I'm sure if you play like 200 games, you're going to have similar games. But now they're with active research, with unstacking cities, with these hidden agendas from leaders. It's going to force you out of your comfort zone more, which I'm a huge fan of because I've put about 400 hours into Civ 5 probably at this point in my lifetime, and I have a distinct playstyle that I always go through. I'm a cultural player. I like cultural victories. Now, I'm not always going to be able to do that, because if I'm trying to go for a cultural victory when, like, the Chinese Empire is, doesn't like me building wonders, it might force me out of my comfort zone. If they have reasons to, be allies with me, I would rather prefer that. It's just going to kind of change up how I play each time.
Awesome. So those were just some of our main takeaways of Civilization 6. There will be a lot, I'm sure, new content down the road. The game comes out October 21st, and for all of your Civilization news, come to GameSpot.com. Thanks very much, Mike.
Thanks, Rob.